We have two new potential trade suitors named for Bruce Brown, as it seems like more and more as we inch closer to this year's trade deadline, he's going to get dealt away from the Toronto Raptors. So we'll discuss that, including a big update regarding Gradey Dick and his development, and a Raptors 905er making the G League All-Star team. So lots of stuff to dive into, but before we dive into that, folks, again, over 58% of our viewers are not subscribed to the channel, so it would mean the world to me. If you're enjoying all the latest Toronto Raptor daily updates, you guys could hit that subscribe button. But let's dive into the news. Let's dive into the latest, as Bruce Brown seems like the guy that is most likely going to get dealt ahead of this year's trade deadline. Again, trade wins, they've calmed down. The Raptors are looking at the roster, and generally we see things really heat up, things really pick up very close, the week within the trade deadline. We're still a couple weeks away, a week and a half or so at this point. So again, don't expect trades to happen right away. This sort of lull since the two wild ones that went down just a few weeks ago with OG and then Pascal Siakam. It makes sense things are sort of lulled here at this point, but we are hearing the rumors, the inklings for when things are definitely about to heat up in the coming days in the next week or so. But basically, we've heard, again, this reports came out and here the new reports have said, the Knicks and the Los Angeles Lakers have been among the teams that have been most connected to Bruce Brown. We already know this. There's been multiple videos we've dropped on this. A bunch of reports have dropped. The Lakers and the Knicks are the two teams that seem to be most likely, most involved in a potential Bruce Brown trade. However, since Toronto acquired him from Indiana and the Pascal Siakam deal, both teams reportedly tried to pursue Brown during free agency last summer before he signed with the Pacers, according to Fred Katz, who is a Knicks insider. But now a couple of new teams have been revealed, as essentially it's tough to see Toronto working out a trade with the Bucks, who would have to include Bobby Portis in a trade with the Toronto Raptors. It could become a three-team package, which Portis ends up going elsewhere, but the Bucks don't have much in terms of trade capital that would interest Toronto. So the top paragraph of this got cut off, but basically the Bucks are a team that is interested in acquiring Bruce Brown. And as for the Mavericks, which is another team that is potentially involved, matching salary is a little bit easier to navigate, but all of the Dallas highly paid players are on multi-year contracts, which would limit Toronto's flexibility moving forward. So Toronto is said to be looking for a first-round pick and a quality player, according to Mark Stein. Again, this report's coming from Jake Fisher, who breaks down two new possibilities in terms of the Milwaukee Bucks as well as the Dallas Mavericks. Now, Bobby Portis seems to be the piece that would potentially come back in a Toronto Raptors trade with the Milwaukee Bucks, and frankly, I see this being the case if Masai Ujiri is of the belief that we can turn this season around. Doesn't that mean make us contenders, make us a championship sort of team, going into the season? No. But if he thinks that we can make an actual push for the play-in tournament and not be horrible sort of in that playoff run, then I think this Bobby Portis trade kind of makes sense. Again, is that the right approach? We'll discuss that. But Bruce Brown, who's a guy that obviously it's only he's 27 years old, but is only 6'4", plays the two-guard position. We are loaded at the guard spot. He's a good cutter. He can space the floor a little bit, but his basketball IQ is strong. He finishes around the rim well, and is a guy that is best suited to sort of be on a contender. Obviously, the Milwaukee Bucks would love to have him. He could provide that role that he did with the Denver Nuggets around a Giannis Antetokounmpo and these types of guys, Damian Lillard down there in Milwaukee. So there's no reasons why the Milwaukee Bucks wouldn't be interested in acquiring Bruce Brown. But then Bobby Portis, right? Because again, forget the draft, forget the tank and all those graphics that are getting cooked up in the back end here now at this point for me for these Raptors Digest videos. But basically, the Toronto Raptors need big men. And they need big men that are going to be able to score, produce, get rebounds. Again, we just lost the game last night because we weren't able to close out the rebounding possession. Get that board, and Sadiq Bey ended up hitting the game winner against the Atlanta Hawks. The Raptors need some bigs if they want to sort of compete this season. And Bobby Portis is a guy that is good, and he's not super old. Again, he's not young, but he's only 29 years old. Bobby Portis has been in the league so long. Feels like he's a guy that has been, old vet here now at this point, but he's only 29 years old. 12 points per game, 7 rebounds. He spaces the floor really well. He's on a steal of a contract, 38% behind the three-point line. Bobby Portis is really good. He's 6'10", and can really fortify our front court here now for the Toronto Raptors, especially for moments like right now where Jakob Poeltl is out with injury. So the Toronto Raptors are hoping to shake up this season, turn things around. Adding a big like Bobby Portis would be great. Makes sense. But frankly, I'm of the belief that Masai Ujiri isn't interested in bringing in more vets, bringing in more guys that could help us sort of win out in the short term. The Raptors right now, in terms of the tanking standings, right, the Raps are 6th. we need to maintain that sixth pick in order to keep our draft pick for this current season. Again, I hear some people saying the 2024 draft isn't supposed to be as good, all that type of stuff. But Toronto Raptors are going to be late lottery or early lottery, however you want to order it. But we are going to have a high draft pick this season regardless. So, and again, picks are more valuable the earlier you get them because then they pay off sooner and the cost of time and all that type of stuff. So, the Toronto Raptors want to keep this pick. It makes sense. We don't look like we have the team when Jakob Poeltl is out of the lineup that can really compete. We're 1-9 without Jakob Poeltl so far this season, and adding a big to this squad because we have a talented backcourt. I don't care how much hate this team is getting, how much sort of smoke is coming on this sort of group and everything along those lines, but the Toronto Raptors are a squad that has some talent. And if we add some bigs, we fortify our front court. No, we're not going to be a championship winning team, but we're going to be a decent team in the Eastern Conference. So bringing in Bobby Portis would hurt the tank, but he would help this team sort of in the short term. So depending on these moves, I don't mind the return of Bobby Portis for Bruce Brown. Again, I'd like draft capital to be added on top of it. I'm not sure if that's actually going to be the case from the Milwaukee Bucks, but we know how Bruce Brown can be valuable for a contender, so I wouldn't be shocked. Bobby Portis wouldn't be a horrible return if this team is looking to sort of improve in the short term, which I don't think it is. So let's look what the Dallas Mavericks have. We're not getting Lively. We're probably not getting Green. So what's going to happen if we send Bruce Brown to the Dallas Mavericks? Well, a Grant Williams maybe is a potential piece in return. Again, not a lot of young guys that sort of fit the mold of a young promising prospect, and the Mavericks don't have a lot of draft capital either. So even though these two teams, Bruce Brown would be a perfect fit, and as Jake Fisher sort of reported, having a multi-team trade maybe could make things more enticing for the Toronto Raptors, but Masai Ujiri's prioritized flexibility and these types of things, I think it's much more realistic that we get either a young guy like a Quentin Grimes from the New York Knicks rather than one of these packages from the Milwaukee Bucks or Dallas Mavericks. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Let's dive into the next topic of discussion. The next thing we're taking a look at is this is big for Gradey Dick. Now, I can't spell his full name in the YouTube descriptions. It gets weird with how these sort of things get taken in. But Gradey Dick is a guy that is was touted as one of the most elite shooters in last year's draft. He had a cold start to this year, but he's had some nice moments as of late, especially that game against the Atlanta Hawks. And a Hawks legend has apparently been training up Gradey Dick a little bit in the offseason, as basically news came out yesterday that or a picture showed of Gradey Dick and Kyle Korver just chopping it up, chatting pregame. And Savannah Hamilton came out and said that Gradey mentioned in postgame that Kyle Korver has been giving him advice since last summer league, and that before tonight's game, they were chatting about how certain workout drills he can incorporate. So Kyle Korver is honestly a guy that has been an all-star in the NBA, obviously part of that Hawks team, not a year after year all-star, but one of the best spot-up shooters in basketball history, one of the best guys in terms of moving off the ball, working around screens, all those types of things. And Gradey Dick, super young in this league, has shown a lot of potential in terms of shooting the basketball, even though it's been inconsistent during his rookie year. He's taken a major step up just from that little 3-week workout he had down in the G League. He's definitely looking a lot better on the defensive end since he's returned back. He's a hustler. He does the little things out there on the court. Even if it's not at a high level yet, the energy is definitely there. So the fact that he's working on his best skill in three-point shooting with Kyle Korver, getting advice from him, we're learning from the best at probably what Gradey Dick's sort of positional mold will be, is huge. And Kyle Korver is a guy who took a few years in the league to really find his footing, to really establish himself as one of the top league shooters. And obviously the league changed over the course of Kyle Korver's career to where three-point shooting became a lot more valuable, as his NBA seasons progressed. So Gradey Dick, if he could learn anything from Kyle Korver, that is huge for the Toronto Raptors. It's huge for Gradey. So hopefully he's able to incorporate and have a career like Kyle Korver. And then speaking about another Toronto Raptors prospect, as a Raptors prospect has been named an All-Stars, Markieff Noel, who's with the Toronto Raptors 905. He's a guy that obviously is a fun player to watch given his size and given his height, but he was named to the G League All-Star team. Markieff found out he's in the next up game bound at the NBA All-Star weekend, and obviously Markieff Noel has shown a lot of potential, really played well in Summer League. He's flashy, he looks really cool, he's a smaller frame, being able to execute out there on the basketball court. So congratulations to Markieff Noel, but I have to say something, because I think there was a vote involved in terms of big names, big players, and there are a few guys in the G League that got overlooked in regards to this, but my guy, Javon Freeman Liberty, I'm looking at the stats here now, trying to get my eyes right, but 24 points per game, shooting 38% from the three-point line, for this Toronto Raptors 905 squad, 7 rebounds, 4 assists. I mean, how's he not making the All-Star game in this one here? Shooting 47% for the field. Obviously, Marquise Noel, not too shabby himself. 16 points per game. Assists are high, for this group. This box score is really tough to read, but 8 assists, got a couple steals there per night. I'm surprised. I'm pretty surprised that Javon Freeman Liberty just didn't make this All-Star game, but it is what it is. He's a guy that I wouldn't mind seeing get an opportunity as well in the second half of the year to get some run with the main group. But congrats to Marquise Noel. I think there's a little snub from Javon there, but let me know what you guys think about all this Toronto Raptors news. So you guys are the best to make this far. Subscribe to the channel if you guys haven't already. I'm signing out. Cheers.